We're talking today about something that every single human being on this earth possesses, yet almost nobody uses consciously. Extrasensory perception. The ability of your mind to reach beyond the five senses, beyond what you can see, hear, touch, taste, or smell, and tap into a dimension of intelligence so vast, so infinite, that the greatest scientists of our time have spent their entire careers trying to measure it. And they have measured it. That's what most people don't know. Dr. Joseph Rhine of Duke University, along with his wife Dr. Louisa Rhine, who was both a botanist and one of the most gifted psychic researchers of the 20th century, spent decades documenting thousands upon thousands of verified cases. Telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, seeing events before they happen. These are not the ramblings of superstitious villagers. These findings were reviewed and validated by the Mathematical Society of America, the most rigorous, most skeptical body of scientific minds this nation has ever produced. They went in looking for fraud. They found none. Sir Oliver Lodge, Sir William Crookes, William James, the father of American psychology, knighted, honored, celebrated men of science, all of them, every single one of them, concluded after exhaustive research that the human mind operates on levels far beyond what our five senses can account for. So when I talk to you today about extrasensory perception, about your dreams, about the infinite intelligence residing in your subconscious mind, I am not asking you to take a leap of faith. I am asking you to look at the evidence. The evidence is overwhelming. Now let us begin with what the subconscious mind actually is, because most people have a completely distorted picture of it. They think of it as something mysterious, something shadowy, something that only comes alive when they go to sleep at night. Nothing could be further from the truth. Your subconscious mind is operating every single second of every single day. Right now, as you listen to me, your subconscious mind is regulating your heartbeat, your breathing, your digestion, the blinking of your eyes. You are not doing any of that consciously. Something far deeper is doing it for you. And that something, that infinite organizing intelligence operating beneath the surface of your conscious awareness, is what the late Carl Jung of Zurich called the collective unconscious. It connects every human being who has ever lived and ever will live. It is the medium through which extrasensory perception operates. Think about that for a moment. You are not isolated. You are not separate. Beneath the surface of your conscious thinking mind, you are submerged in a vast psychic sea that connects you to every other mind on this planet. This is not poetry. This is not metaphor. This is the scientific conclusion of the greatest researchers in the history of psychical study. Now I want to tell you about something that happened that illustrates this perfectly. A woman came to one of my lectures, a perfectly ordinary woman, a housewife, a mother, and she told me a story that stopped me cold. She said that one night she had a dream, vivid beyond anything she had ever experienced. In this dream she saw her young son, her beloved boy, riding his bicycle down the street near their home. And in the dream she saw a large truck come around the corner, and she saw the collision. She saw the whole thing. She woke up trembling, her heart pounding, and she went immediately to her husband and told him what she had seen. He said, "Go back to sleep, it's only a dream." Only a dream. How many times have we heard that? How many people have dismissed one of the most important communications they will ever receive with those three dismissive words, only a dream? She did not dismiss it. Something in her, call it mother's instinct, call it divine guidance, call it the subconscious mind speaking with absolute clarity, something in her said, "No, this is real. This morning I am keeping that child inside." And she did. She kept him home. At 11 o'clock in the morning, exactly as she had seen in her dream, a large delivery truck came around that very corner at excessive speed, mounted the curb, and struck the spot where her son would have been riding his bicycle at that exact time. He was safe inside the house. The dream had saved his life. Now you must ask yourself, how is that possible? And the answer is what I want you to understand today. That event, that collision, had already happened in mind before it happened in the physical world. The patterns were already set. The trajectory of that truck driver, the route, The time of day, the speed, all of this existed as a configuration of energy in the universal subconscious mind before any of it materialized physically. Her subconscious mind, connected to that infinite sea of intelligence, perceived the pattern and communicated it to her through the language of dreams. This is what the book of Joel tells us. I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old men shall dream dreams, your young men shall see visions. Your Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, is saturated with dreams and their meanings. Joseph interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh. Daniel interpreted the dreams of kings. These were not fairy tales for children. These were descriptions of the exact faculty we are discussing today. The capacity of the subconscious mind to perceive events across time and space and communicate them through the symbol language of dreams. When the deep sleep falls upon man, the scripture says, he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction. In other words, your five senses are so loud, so insistent, so cluttered with the noise of daily life, that the infinite intelligence within you has no choice but to wait until you are quiet, until you are finally still, and speak to you in the night. There was a minister in New York, a personal friend of mine, who asked me to join him in leading a seminar in the Middle East. I said to him, before we make any decision, let us pray about it. Let us ask for guidance. And the prayer was utterly simple, as all true prayer is: infinite intelligence, lead and guide us and reveal to us the perfect answer concerning this journey. That is all. No elaborate ritual. No lengthy petition, simply a clear, quiet, confident request directed to the infinite intelligence within. That night, as I slept, I saw clearly in my mind the headlines of a major newspaper declaring the outbreak of war in that region. I saw military aircraft with their insignia clearly visible. I saw the whole scenario unfolding with the vividness and clarity that marks a true prophetic dream, as distinct from an ordinary dream of indigestion or anxiety. My friend in New York independently had the same experience. He also saw it. We both cancelled the trip. 7 months later, the war began exactly as we had both seen it. The seminar would have placed us in that region during the outbreak of the conflict. Now, some of you are thinking, well, perhaps that was coincidence. Good heavens! How many coincidences does it take before an intelligent person begins to recognize a pattern? The researchers at the Society for Psychical Research in Great Britain have been documenting verified cases of precognition, the perception of future events, for over 100 years. 100 years of documented, cross-referenced, scientifically examined cases. These are not anecdotes. These are verified data. And what they demonstrate beyond any reasonable doubt is that the subconscious mind is not bound by time. Your subconscious mind does not live in the present the way your conscious mind does. It perceives past, present, and future simultaneously, because at the level of the subconscious mind, time as we experience it consciously simply does not exist in the same way. This is why a gifted psychic or clairvoyant can sit across from you, having never met you, and tell you things about your life that no one could possibly know through ordinary means. They are reading the contents of your subconscious mind. And here is the thing that most people find astonishing when they first hear it. You have already told them everything before they have told you anything. Your subconscious mind, in its passive receptive state, broadcasts continuously. Everything you are planning, everything you are worried about, everything you intend to do, it is all there, radiating outward into that psychic sea that connects all minds. A truly sensitive person in a passive, receptive state simply tunes in to your frequency and reads what is there. Dr. Rhine demonstrated this repeatedly under controlled laboratory conditions. He would place a subject in one room and operate a machine with 25 cards bearing different symbols in another room. Under conditions that made any form of ordinary sensory perception impossible, no sight, no sound, no communication of any kind, gifted subjects named the cards correctly at rates that defy all mathematical probability. The odds against achieving these results by chance alone were calculated in the billions to one. Billions to one. And the Mathematical Society of America reviewed these calculations and confirmed them. There were no tricks. There was no fraud. The only explanation that fits the data is that the human mind possesses a faculty of perception that operates entirely independently of the five physical senses. Extrasensory perception is not a belief. It is a demonstrated fact. Now I want to address something important, because there is a great deal of confusion on this subject. People come to me and they say, "Dr. Murphy, does this mean that everything is predetermined? Does this mean that our fate is fixed, that we cannot change what the psychic sees, that the dream is an unalterable prophecy?" And I tell them absolutely not. Nothing is predetermined in the sense of being fixed and unchangeable. The psychic or the dream perceives the current trajectory, what will happen if the present pattern of thought, belief, and action continues unchanged. But you are not a passive object being carried by a current. You are a thinking, praying, conscious being with the power to alter your trajectory at any moment. Consider this. 3 women were scheduled to board a commercial aircraft. All 3 had vivid, deeply disturbing dreams the night before their departure. In each dream they saw the plane go down. Each one cancelled her trip. Each one was ridiculed by family members, by colleagues. "It's only a dream. You're being irrational. Don't be superstitious." The plane crashed. And those 3 women were alive to tell the story. Were those dreams unalterable prophecy? No, they were warnings. Communications from the infinite intelligence of the subconscious mind saying, the pattern is set, the trajectory is dangerous, but you have the power to step off this path. The dream did not force fate, it offered guidance. And those 3 women were wise enough and humble enough and spiritually alert enough to accept the guidance when it came. This brings me to perhaps the most important thing I will say to you today. If you do not claim divine guidance, if you do not consciously, deliberately, regularly align your conscious mind with the infinite intelligence of your subconscious, you are adrift. You are, as I have always said, subject to the thoughts, the fears, the anxieties, the mass hysteria of 4 billion people. We are all submerged in the same psychic sea. And if you are not actively, consciously directing what enters and is accepted by your subconscious mind, then the mass mind will direct it for you. Other people's fears will become your fears. Other people's limitations will become your limitations. Other people's tragedies will become your tragedies. Not because fate ordained it, but because you abdicated your own mental sovereignty. Do you own your own mind? That is the question every person must honestly ask themselves. Or are you allowing the newspapers, the television, the frightened opinions of relatives and neighbors to mold and shape the contents of your subconscious mind for you? Because whatever is impressed upon the subconscious mind is expressed in your life. That is the law. It is absolutely honest. It is eminently fair. It plays no favorites whatsoever. As you sow in your subconscious mind, so shall you reap in your outer experience. Always, without exception. The law does not bend for anyone. Now let us talk about how to work with your dreams, because most people treat their dreams as meaningless noise, as the mental residue of what they ate for dinner or the movie they watched before bed. And yes, some dreams are exactly that. The subconscious mind does process the experiences of the day during sleep. There are dreams of simple psychological processing, dreams of anxiety, dreams of frustration. You do not need to assign profound meaning to every image that passes through your sleeping mind. But there are also, as I have described to you today, prophetic dreams, dreams of guidance, dreams of warning, dreams that carry a quality and a vividness and an emotional charge entirely different from ordinary dreams. And you must learn to tell the difference. A prophetic dream, a genuine communication from the infinite intelligence of your subconscious mind, has specific qualities. It is extraordinarily vivid, more vivid, people often say, than waking reality itself. It carries an emotional weight that lingers long after waking. It has a clarity and a coherence that ordinary dreams rarely possess. And most significantly, when you wake from such a dream, you know, something deep inside you recognizes the difference between mental housekeeping and divine communication. Do not dismiss that recognition. Do not let anyone talk you out of it. The woman who saved her baby from the chandelier, and I will tell you her story now. She knew. She was a young mother who, every single night before placing her infant in the crib, would say a simple prayer. She said it in her own words, without formality, without ritual. She simply said, "God loves you and cares for you, that is all." But that simple daily act of consciously affirming the protective presence of infinite intelligence over her child was keeping her subconscious mind attuned to guidance. One night she dreamed she was awakened at exactly 3 o'clock in the morning by a sound at the window. She looked at the clock in her dream. 3 o'clock. And she saw the large ornate chandelier hanging above the child's crib begin to tremble and then fall directly onto the sleeping infant. She woke screaming. Her husband told her to go back to sleep. She refused. She brought the child into bed with them. At exactly 3 o'clock in the morning, exactly, the chandelier fell and demolished the crib. Had the child been there, the child would have died. She was protected because her mother had kept the channel open. She had kept her subconscious mind attuned to infinite intelligence through the daily, consistent, habitual practice of prayer. You see, prayer is not a performance. Prayer is not a religious ritual you perform on Sundays to satisfy social expectation. Prayer in its truest and most powerful form is the deliberate, conscious communication between your conscious mind and the infinite intelligence of your subconscious mind. It is the act of impressing upon the deeper mind a clear, confident, emotionally charged image of what you desire, or in this case, what you seek guidance on. And the response always comes, always. It may come as a dream. It may come as a sudden intuition while you are walking. It may come as a persistent inner knowing that refuses to be silenced. But the response always comes because the subconscious mind never sleeps, never rests, and never ignores a sincere request for guidance. I remember a woman who attended my lectures regularly for many years. She was a woman of simple, steady, unshakable faith, not the blind, superstitious faith of someone who has never thought deeply about these matters, but the intelligent, informed faith of someone who had studied the workings of the subconscious mind and understood why the law operates as it does. She was invited to travel by car with a group of friends to a city several hundred miles away. She prayed about it. She asked for guidance with a quiet, confident simplicity. That night she dreamed of the car her friends would be traveling in, and she saw it collide with another vehicle on the highway. She saw the aftermath clearly. In the morning she told her friend, "I have seen this journey in my dream and I cannot go." Her friend laughed at her, called her superstitious, said she was being governed by old wives' tales and irrational fears. The woman was unmoved. She quietly cancelled her arrangements. Her friends made the journey. On the highway, precisely as she had seen, there was a collision. Her friends did not survive. She was alive because she had the wisdom and the courage to accept the guidance that was offered to her. Now here is what I want you to understand about that story. The guidance was offered. The dream was clear. The communication from infinite intelligence was unmistakable. But the woman still had to make a choice. She still had to act on what she received. The subconscious mind will guide you. It will warn you. It will show you the perfect path with extraordinary clarity. But it will not drag you down that path. The conscious choice is always yours. And this is why I say to you, you must be alert. You must be awake. You must be spiritually quickened and alive, because the guidance comes, and it comes clearly, but it requires a mind that is receptive and a will that is courageous enough to act on what it receives. The great tragedy of human life is not that people lack access to divine guidance. Every person on this earth has access to the same infinite intelligence. There are no favorites. The presence of God in the subconscious mind is as fully available to the poorest, most uneducated person on earth as it is to the most sophisticated scholar. The tragedy is that people dismiss the guidance when it comes. They dismiss their dreams. They dismiss their intuitions. They dismiss the persistent inner voice that tells them not to go, not to sign, not to proceed. They override it with the rational arguments of their conscious mind, or they allow the scoffing of relatives and friends to silence it. And then they wonder why things went wrong. They went wrong because the guidance came and was refused. This is also why I tell people, Be very careful about going to relatives for advice on important decisions. A relative, no matter how well-meaning, will give you advice that is filtered through their own fears, their own biases, their own limited experience. If you have a significant decision to make about a journey, about a business venture, about a relationship, go within. Ask the infinite intelligence that resides in your subconscious mind. Ask clearly. Ask with confidence. Ask with the genuine expectation of receiving an answer, and then be still, be patient, and be alert. The answer will come. Now, everyone in this room, everyone listening to me today, has had experiences of extrasensory perception. Every single person. You have thought of someone and the telephone rang, and it was that very person. You have had a sudden inexplicable feeling that something was wrong with someone you love, and you later discovered that something indeed was wrong at precisely that moment. You have walked into a situation and known, with absolute certainty and without any logical reason, that something was not right. These are not coincidences. These are not tricks of the imagination. These are the natural, normal functioning of a faculty you were born with, a faculty that operates through the infinite, connected intelligence of the subconscious mind. The only difference between you and the individuals I have described today, the woman who saved her son, the woman who saved her baby, the researchers who prevented disasters through prayer and inner guidance, the only difference is that those individuals had learned to take these experiences seriously. They had learned not to dismiss them. They had learned to act on them. They had learned to keep the channel open through regular, sincere, consistent prayer and alignment with the infinite intelligence within. You have that same intelligence within you. You have always had it. It has never abandoned you. It has been speaking to you all your life. The question is simply whether you are willing, from this day forward, to listen. When you begin to truly listen, and I mean really listen, with the same seriousness and attentiveness you would give to a doctor who was telling you something critical about your health, your entire life begins to reorganize itself around a deeper intelligence than the one you have been relying on. The surface mind, the conscious thinking mind, is a magnificent instrument. But it is a limited instrument. It can only process what it has already been exposed to. It can only reason from the data it has already collected. It is bound by past experience, by education, by the opinions of others, by the narrow corridor of what it has personally seen and heard and touched. But your subconscious mind has no such limitations. None whatsoever. It has access to information your conscious mind has never encountered and could never encounter through ordinary sensory means. This is not mysticism. This is the documented, verified, scientifically established conclusion of over a century of rigorous psychical research. Your subconscious mind operates outside the boundaries of space and time as your conscious mind experiences them. It is in communication right now, with a field of intelligence so vast and so comprehensive that no computer ever built by human hands could approximate it. And yet most people go through their entire lives treating this infinite resource as though it does not exist. They struggle, they strain, they worry, they lose sleep, and not the productive guidance, receiving sleep of a person who has learned to pray before rest, but the tortured, anxious, unproductive sleeplessness of a person who is trying to solve with their conscious mind alone problems that were never meant to be solved that way. Good heavens. It is like trying to illuminate a stadium with a single candle when you are standing next to the main power switch of the entire electrical grid. Now I want to tell you about a man who came to see me some years ago. He was a businessman, successful by most outward measures, but deeply troubled. He had a major decision to make about his company, whether to enter into a significant partnership with another firm. He had analyzed it from every angle. He had consulted lawyers, accountants, financial advisors. He had filled yellow legal pads with calculations and projections and risk assessments. And after all of that analysis, he was more confused than when he started. Every advisor had a different opinion. Every set of numbers could be interpreted in multiple ways. He was paralyzed. I said to him, "Have you prayed about it?" He looked at me the way educated people sometimes do when you say something they consider beneath their sophistication. He said, "Dr. Murphy, I am a practical man. I deal in facts and figures." I said to him, "And what have your facts and figures given you?" He said, "Confusion." I said, "Exactly. Now let us try something different." I taught him a very simple technique. Before going to sleep that night, he was to hold in his mind a clear, calm picture of the partnership working out perfectly, if that was indeed the right course, or alternatively, to simply ask the infinite intelligence within him to reveal the truth about this situation. Not to beg, not to plead, not to present arguments, simply to ask, with the quiet confidence of a person who knows that the answer exists and will be provided. And then to go to sleep. He came back to me 3 days later. He said that on the second night he had a dream so clear and so specific that it shook him profoundly. In the dream he saw the principal of the other firm engaged in conduct that revealed a fundamental dishonesty, a concealment of serious financial liabilities that had not been disclosed in any of the documents he had reviewed. He saw it with the vividness and the emotional clarity of something that was absolutely real. He woke up and he knew. He knew with a certainty that no amount of analysis had been able to provide. He declined the partnership. 6 months later, the other firm collapsed under the weight of exactly the financial liabilities his dream had shown him. Had he proceeded, he would have been ruined. Now tell me, what advisor gave him that information? What lawyer, what accountant? What financial analyst uncovered what months of professional due diligence had failed to find? The infinite intelligence of his own subconscious mind gave him that information, because that intelligence has access to everything. Everything. There is nothing hidden from it. There is no concealment that it cannot penetrate, no distance it cannot span, no future trajectory it cannot perceive. This is the power that resides within you. This is the power you were born with. This is the power that is available to you right now, tonight, the moment you close your eyes and sincerely ask for guidance. But let me be absolutely clear about something, because this is where many people go wrong. They hear what I have just described and they think, "Wonderful. I will simply ask my subconscious mind for the answers to all my problems, and then I need do nothing more." This is a profound misunderstanding. The subconscious mind guides, it warns, it illuminates, it reveals, but it works in partnership with a conscious mind that is actively, courageously engaged with life. The woman who received the warning about the chandelier still had to get out of bed and bring the child to safety. The businessman who received the warning in his dream still had to make the decision and decline the partnership. The women who dreamed of the plane crash still had to endure the ridicule of their friends and family and hold firm to their inner knowing. This is the path that requires courage, because the guidance of the subconscious mind will very often contradict what the world around you considers rational. It will tell you not to proceed when every logical indicator says proceed. It will tell you to go when every surface circumstance says stay. It will reveal truths that are deeply inconvenient, that disrupt your plans, that require you to disappoint people or change course entirely. And in those moments, the pressure from the outside world, from skeptical family members, from practical-minded friends, from the internalized voice of a culture that has been taught to dismiss anything it cannot measure with ordinary instruments, that pressure can be immense. This is why I say to you, do your own thinking, make your own decisions. The most disastrous thing a person can do when they have received clear inner guidance is to immediately submit it to the judgment of people around them. Because those people, no matter how much they love you, are filtering your guidance through the lens of their own fears and their own limited understanding. How many people have ignored a dream, overridden an intuition, silenced an inner knowing, because someone they trusted told them they were being foolish? And how many of those people later discovered, at great cost, that the inner knowing had been right all along? I will tell you a story that illustrates this point more clearly than any argument I could make. There was a young woman, a student, who had been planning for months to travel to a foreign country for a summer program. She had paid her deposit. She had arranged her accommodations. She had told her family, her friends, her professors. Everything was in order, and then, approximately 2 weeks before her departure, she began to have a recurring dream, the same dream night after night. In the dream, she was in a foreign city, and something was deeply, terribly wrong. She could not see the specific nature of the danger in the dream. Sometimes it presented as a natural disaster, sometimes as civil unrest, sometimes as illness, but the emotional quality was always the same. An overwhelming, unmistakable sense of danger and the urgent need to leave. She told her mother. Her mother said, "You have put too much money into this trip to cancel it now." She told her faculty advisor. He said, "You are experiencing pre-travel anxiety. It is completely normal." She told her best friend. Her friend said, "If you cancel this trip, you will regret it for the rest of your life." So she went. And within 10 days of her arrival, the region experienced a serious outbreak of civil unrest. The program was evacuated. Several students were injured in the confusion of the evacuation. She escaped unharmed, but barely, and she told me afterward, I knew before I left. I had been told, as clearly as anyone has ever been told anything, not to go. And I overrode it, because other people told me my knowing was invalid. Do not let other people tell you your knowing is invalid. That inner knowing, that persistent, emotionally charged, vivid communication from the infinite intelligence of your subconscious mind, is the most reliable source of guidance available to any human being on this earth. It has been demonstrably more accurate, in case after verified case, than the best professional advice money can buy. And it is available to you for free at any moment, simply by learning to ask for it and to recognize it when it comes. Now, someone always asks me at this point, and it is a fair question. It is an honest question. How do I know when I am receiving genuine guidance from my subconscious mind, and when I am simply experiencing my own fears and anxieties dressed up in the language of intuition? This is the crucial question, and the answer requires a certain degree of self-knowledge and inner honesty. Fear speaks in a very specific way. Fear is reactive. Fear is chaotic. Fear generates images and scenarios that are directly connected to your known worries, your established anxieties about health, about money, about relationships, about the specific things that already frighten you in your waking life. Fear dreams are often fragmented and incoherent. They do not tell a clear story. They do not present information you did not already possess in some form. They generate anxiety but not clarity. Genuine subconscious guidance is entirely different qualities. It is calm, even when the content is serious. It is extraordinarily clear. It tells a coherent story. It often presents information you could not have arrived at through ordinary reasoning, specific details, specific images, specific scenarios that your conscious mind had no basis for generating, and it carries what I can only describe as an authority, a weight. A sense of absolute knowing that is qualitatively different from the noise of ordinary anxiety. When you receive it, you know you have received it. The challenge, as I have said, is to honor that knowing rather than surrendering it to the opinions of others. Let me also speak to you about something that is closely related to all of this, and that is the question of telepathy. The direct communication of thought from one mind to another through no ordinary sensory channel. Because this too is something that every person in this room has experienced, whether they have recognized it as such or not. Have you ever been in the middle of a conversation with someone and known, with absolute certainty, what they were about to say before they said it? Have you ever been thinking intensely about a person and had that person contact you within the hour, sometimes within the minute? Have you ever had a thought or an idea come to you that later turned out to have occurred simultaneously to someone else? Someone perhaps on the other side of the world, working on the same problem. These are not coincidences. These experiences occur because at the subconscious level, all minds are in continuous communication. The psychic sea that connects us is not metaphor. It is the operational reality of the subconscious dimension of mind. When your conscious thinking is quieted in meditation, in prayer, In the receptive state, just before sleep, in moments of deep absorption, you become permeable to this continuous flow of subconscious communication. The boundaries that your conscious mind maintains between itself and other minds become temporarily transparent. And in those moments, information flows. Dr. Rhine's experiments with Zener cards demonstrated this under rigorous controlled conditions. But you do not need a laboratory to verify it. Your own experience, if you will examine it with honesty, will provide you with all the verification you require. Begin to keep a record. When you think of someone and they call, write it down. When you have a dream that later corresponds to an actual event, write it down. When you receive an inner prompting that proves to be accurate, write it down. Within a very short time, you will have accumulated a body of personal evidence that will make it impossible for you to go on treating these experiences as meaningless coincidence. You will begin to see the pattern, and once you see the pattern, it changes everything. It changes the way you move through the world. It changes the weight you give to your inner knowing. It changes your relationship with the infinite intelligence that has been trying to guide you all along. And this is the culmination of everything I have been saying to you today, you begin to live from the inside out rather than from the outside in. You begin to make your decisions not on the basis of what the world around you says is sensible, practical, or rational, but on the basis of what the infinite intelligence within you reveals to be true. You begin to use your dreams not merely as curious nighttime entertainment, but as the extraordinary guidance system they were always intended to be. You begin to pray not as a desperate last resort when everything else has failed, but as the first and most natural response to any situation that requires wisdom beyond what your conscious mind alone can provide. This is not a special gift reserved for a selected few. This is not something available only to mystics or saints or those born under particular circumstances. Every person who has ever drawn breath on this earth has arrived here with the full infinite intelligence of the subconscious mind available to them. The presence of God, the infinite organizing intelligence of the universe, is within you right now. It has never been absent. It has never withheld its guidance. It has been speaking to you through your dreams, through your intuitions, through your deepest inner knowing, every single day of your life. The only question that remains, the only question that has ever mattered, is whether you are willing to listen. Start tonight. Before you close your eyes, be still for a moment. Quiet the surface mind, let the noise of the day settle, and then simply, sincerely, without desperation and without doubt, ask the infinite intelligence within you for guidance on whatever matter is closest to your heart. Ask clearly. Ask with confidence. Ask with the genuine expectation of a person who knows that the answer already exists and is already on its way. And then sleep and pay attention to what comes, because it will come. It always comes. It has always been coming. You simply have to learn at last to receive it. There is something else I want to address today, because it is perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of this entire subject, and the misunderstanding causes people enormous unnecessary suffering. And that is the question of why, if this infinite guidance is available to everyone, do so many people continue to experience tragedy, loss, failure, and pain? If the subconscious mind is always speaking, always guiding, always protecting, why do people still walk into disasters that could have been avoided? Why do people still make decisions that ruin them? Why do people still board the plane that goes down, sign the contract that destroys them, enter the relationship that breaks them? The answer is not that the guidance failed. The guidance never fails. The answer is that the reception was blocked, and I want to tell you precisely what blocks it. Because once you understand what interferes with your ability to receive the communications of your subconscious mind, you will understand exactly what you need to do differently. The first and most powerful block is fear. Not the intuitive fear I described earlier, the genuine subconscious warning that says danger, stop, do not proceed. I am talking about chronic, habitual, generalized anxiety. The kind of fear that has become so constant, so embedded in a person's mental atmosphere, that it operates like static on a radio signal, When your conscious mind is saturated with worry about money, about health, about what other people think of you, about all the things that might go wrong, that static makes it extraordinarily difficult to distinguish the clear signal of genuine subconscious guidance from the noise of your own anxiety. It is not impossible. The genuine guidance will still break through, as it did for the women who dreamed of the plane crash, as it did for the mother who dreamed of the chandelier. But it requires far more effort to recognize and far more courage to act on when your mental atmosphere is already thick with fear. This is why the regular practice of prayer, of meditation, of deliberate mental quieting is not a luxury. It is a necessity. It is the maintenance of your receiver. A radio that is never tuned, never cleaned, never properly maintained, will pick up nothing but static even when the most important broadcast in the world is being transmitted on its frequency. Your mind is exactly the same. If you never deliberately quiet the conscious mind, if you never deliberately create the conditions of inner stillness in which the subconscious can communicate clearly, you will go through life picking up fragments and distortions of guidance that you cannot properly interpret, and missing entirely the clear communications that would have changed everything. The second block, and this one is so common, so pervasive, that I consider it one of the great tragedies of modern life, is what I call the pollution of the mass mind. We are, as I have told you, submerged in a psychic sea that connects every human being on this planet, and the thoughts, the fears, the beliefs, the anxieties of 4 billion people are circulating in that sea continuously. If you are not actively, consciously, deliberately maintaining your own mental sovereignty, if you are not choosing what you allow to be impressed upon your subconscious mind, then you are absorbing the mass mind by default. And the mass mind, I can tell you, is not a healthy mental environment. It is saturated with fear, with limitation, with the belief that life is fundamentally dangerous and resources are fundamentally scarce and people are fundamentally untrustworthy. These beliefs, absorbed unconsciously from the mental atmosphere around you, will shape your experience just as surely as the beliefs you have consciously chosen. More surely, in many cases, because they operate below the level of conscious awareness. This is why I have always said the most important thing a person can do for their own well-being, more important than any diet, any exercise regimen, any financial strategy, is to take absolute, deliberate, uncompromising control of what they allow into their subconscious mind. What you read, what you watch, what you listen to, what conversations you participate in, what beliefs you allow to be repeated in your presence without challenge. All of these things are continuously impressing themselves upon your subconscious mind and shaping the reality you experience. The person who begins every morning by reading accounts of disaster and catastrophe and human cruelty, and ends every evening by absorbing 2 hours of violent and fearful entertainment, and wonders why their life feels dangerous and their subconscious guidance is unclear, that person has answered their own question. You cannot pour poison into a well and then be surprised when the water is undrinkable. Now there is a third block, and this one is the most subtle of all. It is doubt, not honest intellectual skepticism. That is a healthy and necessary function of the conscious mind. I am talking about a specific kind of doubt that operates at the feeling level rather than the thinking level. A person can consciously believe everything I am telling you today. They can nod along with every word. They can intellectually accept the research of Dr. Rhine, the evidence of the Society for Psychical Research, the documented cases of precognition and telepathy and clairvoyant dream. They can consciously intend to pray, to ask for guidance, to receive the communications of their subconscious mind. And yet, at a deeper level, at the level of feeling and emotional expectation, they do not really believe they will receive anything. They do not really feel worthy of divine guidance. They do not really expect the infinite intelligence within them to respond to their request. And it is the feeling level, not the thinking level, that governs the subconscious mind. This is the single most important technical point I can make to you about how the subconscious mind actually operates. It does not respond to what you think. It responds to what you feel. It does not respond to the words of your prayer. It responds to the emotional state that underlies those words. A prayer spoken from a place of genuine, calm, confident expectation will produce results. The same words spoken from a place of desperate doubt will produce nothing, or rather, will produce a confirmation of the doubt. Because the subconscious mind is entirely non-selective. It accepts and acts upon whatever feeling state is most consistently and most powerfully impressed upon it. If your words say, "Guide me," but your feelings say nothing is going to come, the subconscious mind will honor the feeling every time. This is why I always teach people to pray from a state of gratitude rather than a state of lack. Do not pray as a person who desperately needs something they do not have. Pray as a person who is calmly, confidently, gratefully acknowledging the infinite intelligence that is already within them and has always been within them. There is an enormous difference between those two states, and that difference is everything. One state opens the channel. The other state closes it. A man came to me once, a man who had been praying for guidance on a serious health matter for weeks without receiving any clear answer. He was frustrated. He felt abandoned. He said to me, "I have been asking every night, and nothing comes." I sat with him for a while, and I asked him to describe exactly how he prayed, not the words, but the feeling state he brought to the prayer. And as he described it, the problem became immediately apparent. He was praying from a state of terror. Every night he lay down in his bed and he was afraid of the diagnosis, afraid of the future, afraid that the answer, if it came, would be something he did not want to hear. And that terror was so loud, so overwhelming, so completely dominating his inner atmosphere that the quiet voice of genuine subconscious guidance could not penetrate it. I taught him to do something very simple before praying, to spend several minutes, not hours, just minutes, deliberately generating a feeling of gratitude. To think of specific things in his life that were genuinely good, genuinely working, genuinely worthy of appreciation. To let that feeling of gratitude expand and settle until it was the dominant feeling in his body. And then, from that place of gratitude and calm, to simply say to the infinite intelligence within him, "Reveal to me what I need to know. Show me the perfect path. I trust you completely." Within 4 nights he had his answer. It came in a dream of absolute clarity, a dream that pointed him toward a specific physician he had not previously considered, whose approach turned out to be precisely what his situation required. The guidance had been there all along. The channel had simply been blocked by fear. When the fear was quieted and replaced with genuine gratitude and trust, the guidance came through immediately. Now I want to speak to you about something that goes even deeper than the practical applications of extrasensory perception and subconscious guidance. I want to speak to you about what all of this actually means about the nature of who you are. Because if it is true, and it is true demonstrably, verifiably, scientifically true, that your subconscious mind operates outside the boundaries of ordinary time and space, that it can perceive events before they happen, that it can receive information across any distance without any physical medium of transmission, that it is connected to every other mind and to an infinite field of intelligence that encompasses all knowledge. If all of that is true, then what does that tell you about what you actually are? You are not simply a physical body that happened to develop a brain that happens to generate thoughts. You are not a biological accident in an indifferent universe. You are not a small, separate, isolated consciousness trying to navigate a dangerous and unpredictable world entirely on your own. You are an expression of the infinite. You are a point at which the universal intelligence becomes locally conscious of itself. The boundaries of your body are not the boundaries of your mind, and the boundaries of your mind are not the boundaries of what you are. What you are extends into dimensions that your 5 senses cannot perceive and that your conscious thinking mind cannot fully comprehend. Every genuine mystical tradition in the history of human civilization has arrived at this same conclusion through its own path. The Vedantic tradition of ancient India speaks of the Atman, the individual self, as identical in its deepest nature with the Brahman, the universal self. The Christian tradition at its deepest level speaks of the kingdom of God being within you, not outside you, not above you, not accessible only through intermediaries, but within you. The tradition of the Kabbalah speaks of the human soul as a spark of the divine fire. The Sufi tradition speaks of the human heart as the mirror in which the infinite contemplates itself. These are not primitive superstitions. These are convergent descriptions arrived at independently across thousands of years and across every human culture of a single reality, the reality that the boundary between the individual human being and the infinite intelligence of the universe is far more permeable, far more transparent, far more negotiable than our ordinary waking consciousness leads us to believe. And the research, the hard, rigorous, scientifically documented research of Rhine and Lodge and Crookes and James and 100 others, the research is simply the modern, empirical confirmation of what the mystics have always known. Subconscious mind is not a storage room for repressed memories and unfulfilled desires. It is the point of contact between the individual and the infinite. It is the doorway through which the intelligence that designed and sustains this entire universe communicates with the individual expression of itself that you are. When you pray, you are not sending a message to a distant deity somewhere beyond the stars. You are opening a channel within yourself to the infinite intelligence that has been present within you since before you were born. That was present in the first cell that divided to become the body you now inhabit. That will be present in whatever form of consciousness you take beyond the dissolution of this physical body. You are communicating with the deepest dimension of your own being. And that deepest dimension of your being knows everything. It has access to everything. It can guide you through anything. It will never fail you because it cannot fail you. It is you at the most fundamental level of what you are. This is the truth that extrasensory perception points toward. Not merely the remarkable and well-documented fact that the human mind can perceive events across space and time without the mediation of the ordinary senses, but the far more extraordinary truth that underlies that fact, the truth that the human mind is not ultimately a local phenomenon at all. It is an expression of a universal intelligence that is boundless, timeless, and infinitely resourceful, and you have access to that intelligence. Right now? At this moment, through the subconscious mind that is operating within you at this very instant as you sit and listen to these words. Begin tonight. Be still, be quiet, be genuinely expectant, and ask, because the infinite has never once failed to answer a sincere question. Not once, not in all of human history. The answer has always come. It is always coming. It is coming to you right now, through every channel that you have the stillness and the courage and the humility to receive. That is the power of your subconscious mind. That is the reality of extrasensory perception. And that is the truth of what you are. 3:04 p.m. There is one final thing I want to leave with you today. And it is perhaps the simplest thing I will have said in this entire conversation, and yet it is the thing that most people find the hardest to actually do. Not because it requires great effort, not because it demands extraordinary discipline or unusual talent or years of specialized training. It is hard for most people for exactly the opposite reason. It is hard because it is so simple. And the human mind, trained as it is by a world that equates complexity with value and struggle with worthiness, deeply distrusts anything that arrives without effort. The thing I want to leave with you is this: trust yourself. Not the surface self, not the anxious, calculating, opinion-gathering, approval-seeking self that most people spend most of their waking hours being. I am talking about the deeper self, the self that knows before it is told, the self that feels the wrongness of a situation before the conscious mind has assembled a single logical argument against it. The self that woke you up at 3 in the morning because a chandelier was about to fall. The self that showed you the plane going down 7 months before the war began. The self that has been quietly, persistently, faithfully guiding you your entire life, even when you were too busy, too distracted, too surrounded by the noise of other people's opinions to hear it. That self is not separate from the infinite intelligence of the universe. That self is the infinite intelligence of the universe, expressing itself through the particular, irreplaceable, unrepeatable individual that you are. There has never been another person exactly like you in the history of this world. There never will be. The specific configuration of consciousness that you represent, the specific angle at which the infinite looks out through your eyes and experiences this world is absolutely unique, and the guidance that comes through your subconscious mind is guidance calibrated precisely to that uniqueness. It is not generic. It is not one size fits all. It is the infinite intelligence speaking to you in the specific language of your specific life, your specific circumstances, your specific path. This is why no one else can tell you what your inner guidance means. A dream analyst, a psychic, a spiritual teacher, any of these people can offer you frameworks, perspectives, useful lenses through which to interpret your inner experience. But only you can ultimately know what your subconscious mind is communicating to you. Because only you have the full context of your own life. Only you know the emotional quality of what you experienced in that dream, the specific feeling that tells you this is a warning as opposed to this is simply the processing of yesterday's anxieties. Only you can feel the difference between the calm authority of genuine inner guidance and the chaotic urgency of fear. These distinctions cannot be outsourced. They must be developed within you by you, through the practice of paying attention to your own inner life with the same seriousness and respect you would give to any other field of knowledge you wish to master. And it is a field of knowledge. That is something I want to be absolutely clear about. Learning to work with your subconscious mind, learning to receive and interpret and act on the communications of the deeper intelligence within you, this is a learnable skill. It is not a gift that some people are born with and others are permanently denied. Every single person I have described to you today, the women who dreamed of the plane crash, the mother who saved her baby, the businessman who avoided financial ruin, every one of them was an ordinary person who had learned, through practice and through paying attention, to take their inner experience seriously. None of them were mystics in the popular sense of the word. None of them had undergone years of esoteric training. They were ordinary men and women who had simply made a decision, a firm, clear, unwavering decision, to honor the guidance that their subconscious mind was offering them. You can make that decision right now. This moment, without any further preparation, without any special equipment, without traveling to any particular place or finding any particular teacher. The laboratory for this work is your own mind. The instrument is your own awareness. The curriculum is your own life, every dream, every intuition, every moment of inexplicable knowing, every instance of thinking of someone and having them appear. All of it is material. All of it is data. All of it is the infinite intelligence within you, patiently, persistently, faithfully demonstrating its own reality to you, waiting for you to stop dismissing the demonstrations and start learning from them. I want you to begin a practice. It is a very simple practice, and it requires nothing more than a notebook and the willingness to pay attention. Keep that notebook beside your bed. The moment you wake, before you check your telephone, before you speak to anyone, before the noise of the day has a chance to wash over you and carry away what the night has brought, write down whatever you remember of your dreams. Do not edit. Do not analyze. Do not judge whether what you have written seems significant or trivial. Simply record it, date it, and go about your day. Then, at the end of each day, before you sleep, read what you wrote that morning. And ask yourself honestly, did anything in what I dreamed correspond to anything that happened today? Did any image, any feeling, any symbol, any scenario from the dream find its echo in the waking experience of this day? You will be astonished. Within a very short time you will begin to see correspondences that you cannot explain away. You will begin to see that your dreaming mind is not wandering randomly through a gallery of meaningless imagery. It is tracking your life. It is ahead of your life. It is showing you night after night the patterns and trajectories and warnings and opportunities that your waking conscious mind is too preoccupied to perceive on its own. And as you begin to see this, as the evidence accumulates in your own notebook, in your own handwriting, dated and specific and undeniable, something will shift in you. Your relationship with your own inner life will change fundamentally. You will begin to approach your dreams with the same respect and attentiveness that a ship's navigator gives to the instruments on the bridge. Not superstition, not blind obedience to every nocturnal image, but informed, intelligent, respectful engagement with a guidance system of extraordinary sophistication and reliability. And that shift will change everything about how you move through the world. Now, some of you will do this, and some of you will not. And I say that not as a judgment, but as a simple observation of human nature. Some people hear something that could genuinely transform their lives, and they act on it immediately, with energy and commitment. And some people hear the same thing, agree with it entirely in the moment, and then return home and return to exactly what they were doing before, and nothing changes. And the difference between those two groups of people is not intelligence. It is not spiritual advancement. It is not even, in most cases, motivation. The difference is the presence or absence of one specific quality. And that quality is the willingness to take themselves seriously. Because acting on inner guidance requires you to take yourself seriously. It requires you to treat your own inner experience as real and important and worthy of attention. It requires you to say, what happens inside me matters. What I dream matters. What I feel in my body when I am about to make a decision matters. My inner knowing matters. And that, for people who have spent their entire lives being told that what matters is the external, the measurable, the socially validated, the professionally certified, that can be a surprisingly difficult thing to claim. But I am telling you today, on the basis of everything I have studied and observed and experienced across a lifetime devoted to this subject, your inner knowing matters more than anything outside of you, more than the advice of experts, more than the consensus of your social circle, more than the conventional wisdom of your culture, more than the rational calculations of your conscious mind working from its necessarily limited database of past experience. The infinite intelligence of your subconscious mind has access to dimensions of reality that none of those external sources can touch. And it is devoted entirely to your well-being, your guidance, your protection, and your flourishing. It has no other agenda. It does not get tired. It does not get distracted. It does not give up on you when you make mistakes or ignore its guidance or go years without paying it any attention. It is simply there, always, faithful beyond any human faithfulness, patient beyond any human patience, wise beyond any wisdom that the conscious mind alone can generate. The great teacher said, "Ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened." These are not promises about an external deity dispensing rewards to the sufficiently devout. These are precise, accurate, technically correct descriptions of how the subconscious mind operates in response to sincere conscious intention. Ask. Impress upon your subconscious mind a clear, genuine, emotionally grounded request for guidance. It shall be given. The guidance will come through dreams, through intuition, through the sudden knowing that arrives without logical antecedent. Seek, actively, attentively, respectfully engage with your inner life and look for the communications that are constantly being offered. You shall find, because the communications are always there, they have always been there. The finding is simply the recognition of what was never absent. Knock. Bring the full sincerity and commitment of your conscious awareness to the door of the subconscious. And the door shall be opened, because it was never truly closed. It only appeared closed to a mind that had not yet learned how to look. This is the power of your subconscious mind. This is the reality of extrasensory perception. This is the truth of the dreaming mind and the praying mind and the quietly knowing mind that has been your companion every moment of your existence on this earth. Not a mystery to be solved, not a power to be acquired from some external source, not a gift granted only to the especially favored, but your birthright, your inheritance, the natural and inevitable consequence of what you fundamentally and inescapably are, an expression of the infinite, temporarily housed in a finite form, always connected to the source from which you came, and to which in the fullness of time you will return. Go home tonight with this. Be still, be quiet, trust what you know, honor what you feel, write down what you dream, and above all, when the guidance comes, and it will come, have the courage and the wisdom and the self-respect to act on it. The infinite intelligence within you has never once led anyone astray who followed it with sincerity and trust. Not once, not in all of human history, not in all of the thousands of documented cases that the greatest researchers of the last century have examined and verified, not in a single instance across the entire span of human experience on this earth. It will not begin with you. Trust it, use it, live from it. That is all. That is everything. That is the whole of what I have been trying to tell you from the very first word of this conversation to this, the last. The power is within you. It has always been within you. Now go and use it.